Okay, so folks, it's the dead of winter, and the weather is cooperating because it really feels like it, but it's pretty good today. So I'm sure everybody got here fine because you're here. And I'm Charlie Rossiter, and this is the UU Fellowship of Bennington, one of our corporate sponsors. The reason we can have this beautiful room, thanks to the UU Fellowship of Bennington. And this is also a friend of the event is the Bennington Area Arts Council, another excellent organization that we all need to appreciate because they do good things. And we're going to get right to it. Our first person, cross state lines for poetry, my friend from Albany, New York. He runs an open mic over there once a month and sort of is a hub for a lot of poetry activities. And that is Dan Wilcox. And he knows he's got 5 minutes. Is that what you want?
Yeah, something like that. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello, Bennington. I'm going to read the 2 pieces. The first one is a little longer, and this is the reason I picked this. This was written in response to a call for entries to be written on February 2nd, 1997, by a publication in Albany at the time called The Chronicles of Disorder. I wrote this and sent it to them, but I don't know if they even published it because I think they went out of business. But this happens with all of them. But I wrote it, so here it is, and you're going to get a chance to hear it. And the title of the whole series of these things written about February 2nd, 1997 is The Track of a Sound of a Day. Mine has a subtitle, Today and Over the Years. Today, nothing makes sense, said Ayn Rand, who was born February 2nd, 1905 in, get this, St. Petersburg, Russia. Guess why she's so pissed at the Reds? Trying to make sense of the day, so I write letters, take a portrait of my desk, review my life in my journals, 1978 to now. Listen to Monk, Coltrane, Miles, Glimpse and Angel's Flowered Secret. Wonder why 5 is the only number spelled out 5th. Add them up to get 26, my number, and 31, a prime number. Mary bakes an apple pie. That makes sense. Over the years, what I learned from my past reviewing my diaries. On February 2nd, 1989, I'm introduced to Charlie Rossiter at the Derek Walcott reading at SUNY by Ken Denberg, and later Sylvia Barnard introduces me to John Montague. I've given blood on this date in 1996 and 1979. I've taken a day off from work twice on February 2nd, in 1990 and 1987. I've used this day to write letters, today, 1997 and 1985. On February 2nd, 1993, I went to an exhibit of William Burroughs' paintings, 7 Deadly Sins, at the Gagosian Gallery in New York City. And the year before, on February 2nd, I went to an exhibit of art by high school students at the New York State Museum. I've seen live jazz twice on this date. In 1991 at Artists for New Politics on Madison Avenue in Albany, the Paul Supple Jazz Ensemble. And in 1979, Billy Taylor at the Knickerbocker Saloon in New York City while Mary and I had dinner. Many things twice. I guess that's why it's February 2. But I've been to 3 poetry events over the years on February 2nd. A benefit for Snail's Pace Review at the Boulevard Bookstore in 1992. A benefit for Artists for New Politics in 1991, where I read my poem Richard Nixon Must Die. And the Derek Walcott reading I mentioned in 1989, where I met this guy. At Artists for New Politics benefit on February 2nd, 1991, I took the photo of Mary Panza's pubic hair that she used on the cover of her chapbook, Hair Buffet. It's true. And this has been a very good day for poems. I worked on Peace Marchers at the Vietnam Memorial and wrote The Bass Player's Thoughts in 1991 and in 1983 wrote Z0, the first poem for which I was paid. Has this made any sense at all? Or is Ayn Rand right about something? Thank you. And then just one, this is short. This is actually an inadvertent sonnet. After I wrote it, I realized it was 14 lines. And each year on my birthday, which is January 26th, I write a birthday poem. So this is birthday poem 2019. Today's Saturday is like many others. Not like my own first Saturday, slippery and wet and wailing. Saturday's child works hard for a living, has far to go. Today I drive to Chatham, as most Saturdays. What do people think of 5 old guys on the street corner each Saturday? Lunch and old guy talk, just a Saturday. And this is how far I've gone and how far I'm going, and don't have to work hard. Just live long enough and well to get here another Saturday.
So Dan is obviously the official archivist of our 3 Guys from Albany travels and performances. He even knows what hotel room number he stays in when he goes to New York, he told me. You know, so many times he's accidentally been in the same room. It's great. It's really great to hear those details. Okay, and next up, doing some music for us all the way from Bennington, Vermont, Ken Ash. Yeah.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? Yeah. 2 songs into this. This is a Spanish thing I wrote recently for a lovely lady. Toma mi amor, toma mi amor, toma mi amor y te lo doy. Eres mi amor, eres mi amor, eres mi amor, por favor no rompas mi corazón. Toma mi amor, toma mi amor, toma mi amor y te lo doy. Eres mi amor, eres mi amor, eres mi amor, por favor, no rompas mi corazón. Yeah, print it up here. I call this my worst drug was you. My worst drug was you, babe. Through my life, it was you, babe. We drank and we smoked and we snorted some coke. My worst drug was you. bad weather, babe. We shared your hell together, babe. But your ways were not fine. You kept crossing the line. My worst drug was you. My worst drug was you, babe. Through my life, it was you, babe. We drank and we smoked and snorted some coke, but my worst drug was you, babe. We spent time through bad weather, babe. We shared your hell together, babe. But your ways were not fine. You kept crossing the line. My worst drug was you.
People ask me what's an all-genre open mic. There you go. If you can do it in 5 minutes, you can do it here. And yeah, beautiful. Yeah, nice. Just trying to encourage creativity and see what's around. Okay, next up, Laura's doing song and poetry. Again, all the way from Bennington, Vermont.
Hi.
Hey.
So I thought I'd read maybe 3 short poems and then I'll sing 1 song. These actually, all of the poems I'm reading tonight are poems that came from workshops and which prompts, which is a lot of fun. This one's called Comparing Contradicting Thoughts. Circling around and around, looking at the landscape, parking at various pull-offs, labeled scenic view. As one descends the mountain, skimming the edges of drop-offs, maneuvering switchbacks. Your brain's neurons short-circuit from overload and fear. Your head begins to explode. The atmospheric pressure increases, making your ears hurt, as the dizzying effect of the snaking road and the varied destinations leaves you in utter confusion. This one's called To My Beloved. You are a soft silk robe when I embrace you, a firmly stuffed leather couch when I'm lying on top of you, a mother bear when someone wants to hurt me. Bearing my weight, you are a gentle burro carrying me up steep heights. Listening to my sorrows, you wipe my tears with an elephant's tender trunk. You carry me to the heavens, a condor making my dreams soar. A hot bath you are. You envelop and refresh my weariness after a long day. So this one was also from a PSLV workshop, actually, and it's called Window Panes, Poetry Society Vermont, PSLV. The glass distorts the wood on the wall. Ripples and waves from the fluid melted sand, dimples and refracted light make the grain of the stained boards appear as if they were curly maple when they are merely modest pine. Looking through the antique glass is knowing that my receptors are skewed to see marvelous things in a world where nothing is perfect but the beauty of the ordinary, making my heart glad. I desire to look through the swirling glass toward all I see, taking nothing for granted, knowing that each place that my eyes choose to gaze incites feelings of wonderment and joy. So I don't make up my own songs, but I'm a fan of Cri Cri, who writes children's songs, and his name is Francisco Gabilondo Soler. And the song I'm going to sing is The Queen of the Bees, La Reina de las Abejas. So, actually it's called, I take it back, it's called El Jicote Aguamielero, which is the wasp. But the wasp is in love with the queen bee. That's why I call it the queen bee. So it goes like this. It's about a wasp that's in love with the bee, and she says, huh, you think I would gain? Anyway, hopefully you'll get the message. It goes like this. La reina de las abejas estaba en el panal y uno de sus obreros le gritó. Wait a minute. Here's what I got. La reina de las abejas estaba en el panal y le dijeron, Regia Majestad, alguien le quiere hablar. Cortado entró el jicote, humilde de condición, pero ilusionado de pedirle su corazón. Parece que no sabe con quién trata, igualado bigotón. Soy la reina por bonita y un jicote aguamielero. No cuadra con mi amor. Silencio quedó el jicote con tanta humillación, porque pero ilusionado de pedirle su corazón. Creí que éramos iguales a según la Constitución. I thought I had this memorized. Pero, okay. Y el jicote aguamielero con bigotes de aguacero, rezumbando a la sombra de las fincas es el rey. Okay, there's more actually. Okay, sorry about that.
Anyone here speak Spanish? Okay, you can say it next time. Just say anything. Make sounds if you can remember the tune. Beautiful, right?
I do know the song, but I forgot.
Well, I wasn't you, so I could sit there and think of that. Say, hey, she can mumble anything. Well, I don't know the difference. Corazon, every once in a while, say corazon. Something like that, you know.
Okay.
Where was the part where she told him to get lost?
She's like, do
Ooh.
you think that I would want to marry you? Really?
Yeah.
You really think so?
Okay. Okay, and next up, handling refreshments back there with her man Tom, is Lynn Mazza. She says she's reading other people's poetry. Ooh. Okay.
Yes, the paper.
So first I want to say happy Imbolc. We're halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So it's also St. Bridget's Day and Candlemas, and Groundhog's Day was one of those bizarre European traditions that it was actually originally a badger in Europe.
And Dan went to a poetry reading today, too.
So this is from a collection of poems called Poems to Live By in Troubling Times. Let's see, sorry. All right, this one is called To Be of Use by Marge Piercy. The people I love best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in and the fire must be put out. The work of the world is common as mud, botched, it smears the hands and crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek I can't pronounce this word, amorphos, for wine or oil. Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know that they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for the water to carry, and the person for work that is real. This one's kind of dark, but I like it. So, this is called Small Frogs Killed on the Highway by James Wright. Still, I would leap too into the light if I had a chance. It is everything, the wet green stalk of the field on the other side of the road. They crouch there too, faltering in terror, and take strange wing. Many of the dead never moved, but many of the dead are alive forever in the split second. Auto headlights more sudden than their drivers know. The drivers burrow backwards into dank pools where nothing begets nothing. Across the road, the tadpoles are dancing on the quarter thumbnail of the moon, and they can't see, not yet. And the last one I picked because it was by Mary Oliver, who's a wonderful poet who recently passed away, so I just want to honor Mary Oliver. It's called The Sun. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun, every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds or the hills or the rumpled sea and is gone? And how it slides out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world, like a red flower streaming upward on its heavenly oils, say on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there is anywhere, in any language, a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Or have you too gone crazy for power, for things?
Does Ben play the guitar? Okay, you're on the list.
Oh, I am, okay.
Yeah, Ken put you on the list. Just so you know.
Thanks, Ken.
What a guy, huh? All right.
Modern technology, text messaging.
It's amazing, yeah, whoa. Really. Okay, now we've got up here next a multi-instrumentalist and named Stephen. Or is it Stephen?
I don't care.
It's him.
Well, this thing I'm going to do here actually was developed by playing on the streets in Saratoga Springs and Lake George for a couple seasons. actually have to say something. I believe that the one that was in the history books, known as Jesus, and Moses and Adam and Enoch and Elijah were all like, were one member of the level above human that created the planet and all the life forms. And it was twisted into religion. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. Although the religions are all pathways, and atheism is also a pathway. And actually, what I wanted to say was that I believe that Jesus was actually like an extraterrestrial in reality. Who works in laboratories that are as big as planets inside and out. And they created the Earth to give the opportunity for the mammalians, the humans, to outgrow their humanness, to evolve into the future, the next level above human. So they're like the Star Trek crew, actually. And they know how to stay hidden. They're physical, they're not just spiritual. And they're not the space aliens either. The harmonica
And
started
now
that way, too.
it's part two. It was such a massive show, it's a two-part show. If you take an intermission, anyway. Okay, and next up, a guy who I'm always wondering what he's going to do because he always does these interesting stories. Bruce Lerman. Yes! And the fan club is here. It's great.
I need room to move when I talk to him. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story, and it's good for the dead of winter because the first thing I want you to do is imagine a June night in the Midwest. The land is absolutely flat. There's a brilliant spotlight moon overhead, and the air is balmy, which means it's sort of warm and cool at the same time. And it smells of greening corn and clover and all the weeds that grow by the roadside. It is only on a night this perfect, this sensuous, this voluptuous, that you have the opportunity to transform it in an instant to the most embarrassing night you've ever had that you will remember for your lifetime. When I was a high school senior, I didn't go to the prom. because I was too slow and too cowardly to ask anybody. And I knew a young woman who also didn't go to the prom, but it was for an entirely different reason. It was because her boyfriend of several months broke up with her on the day of the prom. Now, I thought this was a pretty cruel thing to do, not knowing anything about the details and the circumstances. But I also thought it was incredibly stupid because she was smart, she was funny, I thought she was tremendously attractive, and she had a smile that would light up a coal mine and warm it too. So a couple of weeks later, I called her up and asked her if she'd like to go to the graduation party. And she said yes, and we went. We had a pretty good time. And so then school was out, and it was June. And what you do in the Midwest, in the town where I grew up, which is a fairly large city by Midwestern standards, is you go to all the small towns around the area and you go to a dance. You get a car, you drive a few miles down the road, you can make an entrance. It's really, it's great. And on the way home, we had a good time there, and on the way home, I knew of a section of interstate highway that they were building that was not yet open to the public. But all you had to do was drive around one barricade, and you could have about 2 miles of interstate slab all to yourself. And the moon was so bright that I suggested to her that we could go there and we could drive down that road with the smells pouring in on us with the headlights off just by the light of the moon. And we did, and we got to the end of the 2-mile slab of concrete and we stopped. Now, one thing led to another, and we decided very shortly that we probably needed to find some more comfortable and secure place to end our date. So I started up the car, and the highway was done, but the shoulder wasn't. And in backing up the car, I misjudged. The rear wheels went off the edge of the slab. The car landed on the frame with the rear wheels suspended in air. So I made a couple of tries at getting it back up there. That was not going to happen. So we resigned ourselves to the 2-mile walk back up the blacktop to get to the main road to try to get a ride home. But I noticed off to the side that there was a farmhouse about 1/4 mile away that still had lights on. Not the barn light, but lights in the windows. So we walked there instead and knocked on the door, and the farmer was sitting at the table, kitchen table reading, and he comes to the door, he peers out, he lets us in, and we stand in the kitchen, and I tell him of what has happened to his absolutely blank expression. And he looks at me, and he looks at her, and he looks back at me, and he looks at her. And then she smiled. And this smile was now not a blushing, embarrassed smile, and it was not a smile, a suppressed laugh at how stupid the situation was. It was a smile that said, "I'm okay. It's all right." And the farmer looks at me and he says, "You two walk back to the car and I'll meet you there with the tractor." A couple of minutes later, he shows up. I don't remember any details of the rescue, but he got the rear wheels back up on the pavement and we drove home. Now, when you're young, a lot of good things happen to you, a lot of bad things happen to you. And in between is usually the action of somebody else. And this farmer was the someone else. So we drove home. There was no apparent damage to the car, and there was no particular reason to tell our parents what had happened. But we all came away with a memory that we remember for a lifetime. Thank you.
Isn't it amazing how all the just people you know have all these things in their background that you don't know? It's so interesting. Wow. What else don't we know? Okay, next up, the man who, this really couldn't help what happened without Jerry being around to help me do things and stuff like that, and me helping him do things. He just really contributes his time and energy to help these things that I get to stand up front happen. So Jerry Bird, my man, come up and read us some poems.
I've been wanting to read this in public for a while. It's my favorite piece of Chinese prose. It's called the Sin Sin Ming. And so fasten your seatbelts, because, yeah, fasten your seatbelts. The Great Way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undistinguished. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning of things is not understood, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect, like vast space, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our choosing to accept or reject that we do not see the true nature of things. Live neither in the entanglements of outer things nor in inner feelings of emptiness. Be serene in the oneness of things, and such erroneous views will disappear by themselves. When you try to stop activity to achieve passivity, your very effort fills you with activity. As long as you remain in one extreme or the other, you will never know oneness. Those who do not live in the single way fail in both activity and passivity, assertion and denial. To deny the reality of things is to miss their reality. To assert the emptiness of things is to miss their reality. The more you talk and think about it, the further astray you wander from the truth. Stop talking and thinking, and there is nothing you will not be able to know. To return to the root is to find the meaning, but to pursue appearances is to miss the source. At the moment of inner enlightenment, there is a going beyond appearance and emptiness. The changes that appear to occur in the empty world we call real only because of our ignorance. Do not search for the truth, only cease to cherish opinions. Do not remain in the dualistic state. Avoid such pursuits carefully. If there is even a trace of this or that, of right or wrong, the mind essence will be lost in confusion. Although all dualities come from the one, do not be attached even to the one. When the mind exists undisturbed in the way, Nothing in the world can offend. And when a thing can no longer offend, it ceases to exist in the old way. To live in the great way is neither easy or difficult, but those with limited views are fearful and irresolute. The faster they hurry, the slower they go. And clinging cannot be limited. Even to be attached to the idea of enlightenment is to go astray. Just let things be in their own way, and there will be neither coming or going. Obey the nature of things, and you will walk freely and undisturbed. When thought is in bondage, the truth is hidden. For everything is murky and unclear, and the burdensome practice of judging brings annoyance and weariness. What benefit can be derived from distinctions and separations? If you wish to move in the one way, do not dislike even the world of senses and ideas. Indeed, to accept them fully is identical with true enlightenment. The wise man strives to no goals, but the foolish man fetters himself. There is one dharma, not many distinctions. Not many. Distinctions arise from the clinging needs of the ignorant to seek mind, capitalized, with the discriminating mind, is the greatest of all mistakes. Rest and unrest derive from illusion. With enlightenment, there is no liking or disliking. All dualities come from ignorant influence. They are like dreams or flowers in air, foolish to try and grasp them. Gain and loss, right and wrong, such thoughts must be finally abolished at once. To come directly into harmony with reality, just simply say when doubt arises, not two. In this not two, nothing is separate. Nothing is excluded. No matter when or where, enlightenment means entering this truth. And this truth is beyond extension or diminution in time or space. It is a single thought in 10,000 years.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Jerry confided in me that he wasn't feeling so well and thought he might like to leave early, but I successfully shamed him into staying. I'm so glad I did, Jerry. That's so different. That's not just like another poem or something. I mean, geez, that's a really unique contribution to the evening. I am now going to put myself next on the list because I can do that. Yeah, I have two poems here. I pulled out an old Chicago-style poem, which I will read after this first poem, which is really new. So it means next year I might know what it means. It's one of those kind. If you see something, because she did not shave her legs, I dreamed of heaven. Waiting for the train, I eyed the luggage. So many pretties going somewhere else. The sky had an air of uncertainty. Storm predicted, but I was on a mission. Boldly, I spoke up, looked at the luggage tag, then up at heaven, remembered what they say. If you see something, say something. My fate was sealed. I got on board. I don't know who I was talking to, for some reason, made me think about an old Chicago-style poem, or maybe because Dan plays the saxophone. And when I was here in Albany before moving out there, we had a poem we did, and Dan played his sax with it. It was about the night in in New York, in Manhattan. And I got out there and I met a saxophone player, and I figured, well, I need a Chicago night poem. The neon night of life. You know, that we're all here because we don't really want to live in that all the time. And this is called Nightlife. The sweaty pride of young hips grooves to an Afro-Carib beat. The sweet sound of crowd smiles and the lead singer's dreadlocks, swinging in the heat, glistening in the summer night of lakefront stars and breeze. As a drummer thumps a pulse, the sidewalk dance floor shakes in a heartbeat in the stillness of the city after the offices have closed and the commuters have gone home. Ambling Halstead in search of midnight eyes in blue, slipping to the rhythm streets, Scally G tourists in honking yellow cabs, mesmerized in routines of moonlight and neon, the reverential sax man blows a prayer to 17 kinds of body hair and all the known ways to tattoo a tender thigh and pierce a nipple. The smell of spilled beer and cheap perfume collides with the night's momentum as the speed of everything increases towards supernovas of exaltation and desire. The room gets hotter, the band gets hotter, the air gets thicker, the beer comes fast and cold till the bartender finally pushes back, heaves a sigh, gives the bar a final wipe, folds his rag and cries, "Last call, last call." 5 a.m. Trash cans overturned on the empty street. The corner warning light flashes yellow through fog off the lake. A caravan of ragged faces under the racket of the L, a long way from home, starts its way to someone's sometime sunrise place for one more round. It might look like Sunday morning, but it's still Saturday night. Well, let's liven up those little bits there. I do feel better when I don't forget things. But anyway, I feel good enough because I'm here with you. What the hell? Okay, next up with his guitar is Ben Macklin.
Thank you. I don't mean to correct you, but it's back in.
You know what? The guy who signed you up put an L in it. Right there. Mackin.
Busted.
Sorry, right there.
You're fine. We've only known each other like how many years? And your last name is? Alright, so I'm gonna do one song and it's called Empty Promises and it's original.
All right.
Well, I've been traveling down many different roads since we parted ways, but you wouldn't recognize, even if it hit you right between the eyes. You'd be unmesmerized. Where do we go? Oh, where do we go from here? Yeah, 'cause you're spending money on empty little promises. You're spending money on empty little promises. Oh, where do we go? Oh, where do to your little girl, the one who was the joy of your world. I thought I was your little boy, but all I feel is like a worn out toy. Oh, where do we go? Oh, where do we go from here? Yeah, 'cause you're spending money on empty little promises, and you're spending money on empty little promises. Oh, where do we go? Where do we go? And I'll be the glue, and I'll be the mold. And yes, oh yes, I'm gonna do what I'm told. 'Cause you're spending money on empty little promises, and you're spending money on empty little promises. Oh, where do we go? Where do we go? Oh, where do we go? Yeah, where do we go? Where do we go? Thank you.
And Mackin, Noel. No, get the hell out of there. Okay, folks, that concludes the lineup. And by golly, it was many genres, which is most pleasing to yours truly, at least. So, thanks everybody for being here. I mean, we'll have to race out. You can stay around chat and all that, you know. But anyway, and thanks to Lynn and Tom for handling the refreshments out there. For all of you performers, we need to be sure you have your first and last names clearly written, because when Beck does post-production, she might just put a list of performers in order of appearance, something like that. And if you would, I'll turn to a new sheet in my super notebook. If you'd each write your email addresses, I have some of them, but it would send you a note when it gets finished and where you might actually see it, like on Cat TV or YouTube later, or however it works. I'm not too sure about those details. You know. All of the above. Yeah, and then next year at the Grammys, you know, whatever. I'm ready. And oh yeah, applesauce cake, compliments of Mary Ellen Munley. My longtime partner and current wife. She thinks that's a funny thing to say. Okay, well that's it. This was the what?
Well, special thanks to you, Charlie.
Yes. So just in the fall, we'll be doing 100K Poets. It's the same idea. And all genre open mic, it's the last Saturday in September. And then sometime in the dead of winter next year, we'll be back. So this is the dead of winter, anything goes, all genre open mic, with the underwriting of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Bennington and the endorsement of the Bennington Area Arts Council. All right, we got an official badge. All right. So, he gets sold.
I have worked this morning on massage and then did a meditation last night, a group, It was delightful.